suicide bomber has blown himself up in front of Bagram Airbase, America's main military site in the country. The attack reportedly comes after a leaflet thought to be offensive to Muslims was distributed in the area. Well, for more on this, I'm joined by RT's Samira Khan. Samira, what do we know so far about this attack?
Well, a suicide bomber has detonated explosives at Bagram Airbase in Afghanistan. U.S. military forces have confirmed a small number of casualties, but the exact number remains unknown at the moment. The attack is believed to be a response to a highly offensive leaflet distributed by U.S. forces in the Parwan province on Tuesday that depicted part of the Taliban flag along with a passage from the Quran on a dog. This is an animal that's considered unclean in Islam. The bombing occurred only hours after a senior U.S. commander in Afghanistan apologized for the leaflets. The Taliban responded, saying it showed America's hatred for Islam and that it proves the war in the country is a war between Islam and unbelief, according to news reports. But this isn't the first time controversy has struck the area. In February 2012, U.S. soldiers mistakenly burned Qurans at the same Bagram base, alongside damaged books and texts from the airfield's library. Well, the incident prompted widespread protests and resulted in several deaths. But we have to think that while fundamentalism is mostly to blame for this incident, it seems like U.S. imperialism plays a strong role in providing these terrorists with a motive to perpetrate these attacks. One can only wonder if Trump's new policy on Afghanistan will further exacerbate the situation.
Well, that is one of the things we're going to be going in to talk about with our guests next. Samira Khan, thank you very much. Indeed, journalist and author David Swanson, I believe, is on the line. We can speak to him about some of the topics there Samira brought up. Hello to you. Does the incident with the leaflets actually indicate how out of touch the US actually is with the Afghan people?
I think it begins to scratch the surface, yes, and it's one incident among a great many. And the burning of Korans, for example, has not always been accidental. I was in Afghanistan some years back when a preacher in Florida made the news by burning Korans intentionally, and people were outraged. But all of these things, urinating on corpses and all of the scandals are, not just incompetence, but are, part and parcel of an even more offensive, even more incompetent occupation. And what's even more counterproductive than peeing on corpses is producing those corpses in the first place. What's even worse than dropping leaflets is burning people's houses rather than Korans. And this is a time when the United States has made clear the occupation is permanent. They're never going to leave. This has to be part of what has people outraged.
Can I actually push that argument about incompetence even further and put to you, do US forces actually care about how Afghans feel about their presence in the country?
I doubt very much that most members of the occupation from the United States and its allies really care. That's not what they've been trained to do, not what they've been educated to do. They've been put into a situation where they see Afghan people as threatening their lives, and they haven't been educated to think there's anything to learn from Afghan culture. So they are there to, do their job, stay alive, and get the heck out, and let somebody else come in and continue it for generations. But clearly they have no comprehension and no interest in getting any comprehension of the country they're occupying.
David, this comes, of course, against the background a few weeks ago of President Trump saying that more troops are going to be sent to Afghanistan. We don't know the number, we don't know the time, etc., when people are going to be coming and leaving, but we know there will be reinforcements. Are they going to help the situation there?
There's absolutely no reason to think so. The United States has had well over 100,000 strong plus contractors and allies and mercenaries, and it has simply made matters worse. Everything that this occupation does makes matters worse. If you think about people who, would make a flyer that tries to demonize an enemy and manages to demonize the entire population, and those people are trying to figure out who to bomb and who to kill to make things better, you can imagine the results. And that's what we've been seeing for years. And there's no reason to think that, tweaking the number of occupiers slightly or dramatically is going to change things for the better.
David, if you could just briefly put it into context, how much sway the Taliban actually has in Afghanistan at this point. Has it lessened? Has it grown in the past 16 years since the US has been there?
I think it's certainly grown since the initial attacks, and there was every opportunity to negotiate a reduction in power for the Taliban without any war whatsoever, as there was to negotiate a trial for Osama bin Laden in a third country. But once you've gone in and reaped this sort of destruction and created this culture of intense violence and hatred and opportunism, you're going to have the Taliban and other violent groups claiming power. It's going to continue getting worse, and it's not going to get better immediately when the U.S. gets out, but it's going to be harder and take longer, the longer it takes for that to start.
We appreciate your time and thoughts on the issue. Always great to have you. Author, journalist David Swanson, thank you.